We got the final AP polls today, and some interesting ones in here. I'm going to let me pull it up on screen so everybody can see here real quick. So, not a lot of surprise. The playoff teams made up the top 12, with the exception of Clemson falling to 14 and Ole Miss there, jumping up to 11. However, whoop, look right there. I would say it's in there 15, and shout out to BOU for jumping up to 13 after they blasted Colorado on the Alamo Bowl. I think this is a testament to the season Iowa State put up. Obviously finished 11-3. Played for it. They were the runner up in the Big 12 in both the regular season and the championship game, and then won a Pop-Tart Bowl against Miami. Which was a good Miami team that they did have. They did have Cam Ward for the first half, and then he just didn't play the second half for no reason at all. But it's still a good win against a ranked team that had a good season, and that's a reflection of I think it's a proper reflection of Iowa State having a very good season, having a quality season, setting a program record for wins. And what's important here too, and to any SEC viewers that are watching, this may sound like a foreign conversation to you, but for Big 12 teams and for teams not in the SEC or the Big 10, starting in the top 20 to top 15 gets you a lot. It helps you a lot when you're talking about the college football playoff at large conversation, come October and November. So if Iowa State can be good again next year, them being 15 now means that going into next season, assuming we don't see any major transfers, like I don't anticipate we're going to see any major transfers from Iowa State, but like assuming Rocco Beck doesn't leave or something like that, which Rocco Beck is not transferring, but Suns, something like that happening where they lose a major contributor, I would expect Iowa State to be in the top 20 in the preseason. 18-ish feels probably about right to me, but when you look at this final AP poll, all you see is essentially the playoff teams plus BYU, and then Ole Miss is still up there at 11. A couple of these teams are going to fall down a little. Like Boise State's probably not going to be a top 10. They're not going to be a top 10 preseason team next year. They're losing Ashton Jen. They're not going to be a preseason top 10 team. They might be ranked. I don't know. I'm not sure what they've got coming up. I'm not super familiar with Boise State's roster beyond, their running back essentially. But they're not going to be a preseason number 8 going into next season. Do I think Indiana's going to be a preseason top 10 team? I don't know. They're losing Curtis Rourke and a couple other guys too. They're probably a top 15 team for sure, but I don't know about top 10. I think most of the rest of these will probably be top 10. Arizona State's probably like a 10, 11, 12 type preseason team. They were able to bring in a transfer running back. Forgive me, I can't remember his name, to replace Cam Scadaboo. That is a similarly physical runner. Now, I don't know if he's the living god of balance and toughness that Cam Scadaboo is, but I think he's a good running back. Sam Levitt's a very nice quarterback. I think Arizona State will probably be in the 10 to 12 range, I would guess. Preseason, BYU will probably be somewhere in that 15-ish range, I would guess. But, while the Big 12, I'm not anticipating will have any top 10 teams, maybe unless Arizona State sneaks up to 10. I don't know that I would expect the Big 12 to have any top 10 teams, but they should have at least 3 teams ranked, if not 4, because Arizona State, BYU, Iowa State will all be ranked for sure. I would think Kansas State would be preseason ranked. I mean, they got votes here in the final AP poll, and they're bringing a lot of guys back, including not Skylar Thompson, including Adrian Johnson. So they're bringing their quarterback that everybody likes back. And they're just Kansas State. They're a good football program. So I think I would say we'll probably have 4 preseason ranked teams. And most importantly, for anybody that's keeping track, the next college football game that will happen will be Iowa State and Kansas State in Dublin, Ireland in August. Farmageddon to open up the college football season. It's going to be a good game. And most importantly for the Big 12, it's going to be a team probably against 2 ranked. It's going to be a game between 2 ranked Big 12 teams, which makes it even better. It's a matchup that will have a lot of eyes on it. And the winner of that will have a ranked conference win against another good football program. And that helps when you get towards the college football playoff selection process and you're looking for at-large bids. The Big 12 is always going to have a little bit of an uphill battle for getting more than one bid. The best thing that can happen for the Big 12 is you have two 11-1 or better, 11-1 or undefeated teams in the conference title game, and then one wins and is still undefeated. Or let's say you have an 11-1 team and a 12-0 team, and then the 11-1 team wins the title and gets the auto bid, and then the 12-1 team gets an at large. That's probably the Big 12's best path to getting a second team in. But other than that, it's really difficult because unfortunately Big 12 teams don't get a lot of benefit of the doubt as far as in terms of like strength of schedule and stuff like that. And we can debate that ad nauseum, and people have been debating that ad nauseum for decades at this point. But it's just, it helps when you can say we were a preseason ranked team, and for better or worse, definitely for worse. The AP and the college football playoff committee does look at AP ranked wins and stuff like that when they're going to select at large teams. And starting off the season ranked is the best way to make sure that you are ranked when the college football playoff starts looking at your team, when they do their rankings at the end of October, at the beginning of November. So that's a good start. But Iowa State starting at 23 is not nearly as helpful as Iowa State starting at 15. I know that sounds very, very obvious, but in this situation, for a team like Iowa State, starting off a little bit higher in the rankings is much better. Starting at 23 and just kind of winning your way up it makes it a little bit tougher because you're just going to get log jammed behind some teams. If you're at 15 and you keep winning and you get to 8-0 or something like that, you're probably knocking on the doorstep of a top 5 team. And then you just got to kind of hold serve there, and try to keep winning games and stuff like that. And hopefully you go 10-2, 11-1, hopefully go 11-1 or something like that. And that's how you can guarantee your spot in the playoff. But staying ranked once you've started ranked is a lot easier than becoming highly ranked after starting unranked. It's harder to win your way up into the top 25 than it is to lose out of the top 25, if that makes sense. If 2 5-1 teams played the exact same schedule, except for each other, essentially, they have these same exact opponents through those first 6 games, and one team started ranked and the other team didn't, the team that started ranked is going to be higher ranked than the team that didn't. So it gives you a head start, even if it's an artificial, almost facetious head start where it's just kind of smoke and mirrors and it doesn't actually mean anything, or it shouldn't mean anything. It kind of does to AP voters and to college football playoff committee members. So Iowa State being 15 in this closing poll is a good sign for the program going forward, because that means that going into next year with the preseason poll, they're going to have a leg up and say, well, Iowa State's 15 here. They were 15 in our closing poll. They're bringing a lot of people back. They're bringing their quarterback back. They're bringing the running backs back. They've got a lot of talent coming back on defense. But, Boise State lost Ashton Jeanty, and Clemson, they've got Cade Klubnik, but maybe they lost some other guys. I'm not sure exactly what their situation is. Indiana lost Curtis Rourke. So those guys drop out, and Arizona State lost Cam Skattebo, their best player. Those might be enough to buoy Iowa State to stay in that 15 range. If they're higher than 15, awesome. I want to say, because what's fascinating here is, you get these 2 early playoff rankings. Brett McMurphy came out with his, and he had Iowa State at 23, which I felt was a little low. I mean, like, I guess I get it, because you're losing 2,000-yard receivers and you're losing 2 all-conference safeties, and a corner that's played forever, 2 corners that's played forever. I get it, but I would have probably started them a little higher, just given how much is coming back for Iowa State, which is pretty much everybody else besides who I just named. But then ESPN came out with their top 25. They're way too early top 25, and they had Iowa State at 11. I probably wouldn't have put Iowa State quite that high, just because you do lose 2,000-yard receivers. And right now, I would say somewhere between 11 and 23 going into the next poll. So there's room to go up. And if you can have a single-digit number next to your name during multiple football games in a season, that helps you tremendously as it comes down to the playoff selection, things like that.